Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? It's me, Mr. 4K Upscaler. You're probably wondering, like, what's going on here? Well, it's Gran Turismo Sport, PlayStation 4 Pro, HDR on. The television I'm using, it's TCL 55-inch Roku TV, model number P605. Okay, I know there's a 607, but this is 605, P605. The whole purpose of this video is going to be, again, to show you how important HDR, high dynamic range format, really is to not just games, to pretty much everything, to sports, to movies, and of course games. And I want to try to show you that here. That's why I brought my camera really close, because I want you guys to see that a little bit better. Also keep in mind, seeing it in person, it's a whole another ball game than you watching it through the camera. And you guys can do these tests yourself. You can position it like this. You can take a paused replay like this and just leave it like this, and then you will see how much of that HDR dynamic range format, high dynamic range format, static metadata you are losing when you strip it off and turn it off, okay? Because I don't think a lot of you realize that, especially the newcomers, people who are gonna adapt to Xbox One X coming this Tuesday, this week. They will realize just how important that HDR is, and not having that HDR, just how much it sucks. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now with this video right here that I am pausing. This is a replay of one of the tracks in California, I think, in the desert. So let's go ahead and let's turn off the HDR mode off completely. I'm gonna go to my remote control. I'm gonna turn it off, and then I'm gonna come back, count to 3 seconds, and turn it back on. So first, let's turn it off in about 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. All right, HDR, it's off. Now just look how much of that white bright level there is. Okay, just look at that. Look at the sky. You don't even see the sun anymore. You don't even see it. It's overwashed. It's oversaturated. You don't even see it. Just keep an eye right here. You don't even see it. You can't even see it. Now look when I turn the HDR back on, and you will see just all of this being not stripped. Like this is being stripped off like naked. You don't see nothing any here. You don't see any detail. Now look what happens when I turn it back on. Check this out. In about 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Now look how much detail you got. You can see that sun clearly. You can see it, but you couldn't see it before. You can see it exactly where it's coming from. You can see exactly where it's shining from, and you can see the clouds. Remember, those clouds you weren't able to see. Now you get to see the clouds and everything here. It's not overblown, so you get to see all the detail. Remember, this is the whole point of this video here, to show you right here. Keep an eye here on these clouds, and you will see you're not going to see none of these clouds anymore once I turn it off. And I'm specifically showing you this up close, so that way you have understanding of what you are missing when you turn the HDR off. A lot of these other demonstrations, they just kind of like, it's half-assed. They don't show you really what you're missing, okay? Here, I want to show you specifically what you're being stripped off naked and what you're not getting without HDR. So let's turn that off, and you will see this right here. None of this stuff you will see. These clouds and this sun, you won't be able to see. So in about 3 seconds, I'll turn the HDR off. 1, 2, 3. And look at that. It's overblown. Everything's oversaturated. Sure, you still see some detail here and there, but it's overblown, it's oversaturated. You just lost that peak brightness detail. I like to call it peak brightness detail because that's really what it does. It's not a peak brightness as you might think, that it's blasting in your eyes. That's not what it's all about. It's a peak brightness detail. You want to see that peak brightness detail in the screen. All right, that's what HDR really is about. So you can see depth of field in a distance. Now look what happens when I turn the HDR mode on. Let's count to 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Look at that. Look at that, man. Look the amount of detail you just gotten. Like a ridiculous amount of detail you just gotten right here. And you weren't able to get that before, remember? You weren't able to get that here. That's why I told you to keep an eye here. Alright? Because some HDR demos, they don't show you exactly what you're missing. And I've seen some of these HDR demos on and off. They're really not that great. They don't really tell you the difference. Here, I'm trying to exactly pinpoint like a surgeon. Oh, okay, look, this is what's going on here and here. Okay? I'm trying to surgically show you what you are missing. All right? And there's other YouTubers out there that use technical language, like chroma upsampling and downsampling. Look, the way I run my YouTube, but this is what I want to say. The way I do my YouTube is for the regular Joes, regular Marys, and just the regular people, newcomers, a noob, somebody who just came into the 4K world and are trying to understand how the whole thing works, like a freshman academy, okay? HD TV tests, Digital Foundry, they are for professionals. Vincent Teo is making a video for professionals. He assumed you already know what he's talking about. He assumed you know what the chroma upsampling is, what YCBCR is, what luminous light is. He's assuming you know all of this technical jogger. So he is for professionals, meaning you got to know your stuff. You got to learn about it, okay? If you don't, you're going to get confused when he's talking, so you won't have any understanding of what is he talking about, okay? It's going to be like a new language, alien language to you. Same thing with Digital Foundry. The way Richard is explaining things is going to be like, if you don't know what the checkerboarding is, oh, is that like a chess? Somebody asked me, is that like a chess? What does the checkerboarding mean? He will probably tell you it's a 3D rendering to that certain resolution. But how does it work? How does that 3D rendering works with that resolution? How does it stay, scaled up to that resolution? So all of these things, you got to learn, you got to understand. That's what I've been doing. I've been reading about it. I've been picking up books. I've been reading, I've been studying, or you can go to Google, learn, study that. Just take some time. But you need to understand it. Don't just memorize it. You need to understand it. How does it work? How does the static metadata work? And what is the difference between static metadata and dynamic metadata? Okay. Also, you got to understand what type of hardware does your TV need to support high dynamic range or dynamic metadata. All of these things, man, you got to learn. But I'm not going to go through that right now. That's something I might go through as we start doing Xbox One X tests. But for right now, I just want to show you why HDR is so important. Okay, so let's quickly turn off the HDR just so you can see just how much you're going to lose right here. Let's count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, hold on. Actually, I made a mistake. I didn't count it properly. Let's count again. 1, 2, 3. And look at this. It looks horrible. Now, to some of you, you say, oh, but it's still okay. No, it's not okay. Believe me. I just lost a bunch of detail. I just lost it. I don't like that. I want to enjoy my game. Okay, I want to see everything in the distance. Okay, so if you never tried HDR, if you never had HDR, then you don't know exactly what you were missing. Okay, that's why I'm doing this video, because I want to show you exactly what you were missing. And I haven't seen that many videos out there really trying to show you this in a really good, like I'm doing this live. Okay, this is being done live. Okay, here's my camera in front of a TV and I'm turning it off and on. Okay, I'm not putting any heavily edited tricks, anything like that, which some videos have done that, and I hate when they do that because they're not being frank with you. They're not being honest with you. I just want to be frank with you and honest with you as to what you are missing with the HDR. Now I'm going to turn the HDR back on. And the reason I have to count to 3 so that way you can see the difference. Okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And look at this. Just look how much of detail you just gotten right here. Look at this, man. Alright? And that's what you want. And of course, we can go through some other, we don't have to be here. We can do it like this. We can go down and we can find another position. to show you the HDR. Here's another great example, the headlights. Now look at the headlights and look at the sky. Okay, this is a really good example right here. Here's another good one. I want you to keep a very close look on two key points here. I'll use my fingers and I'll show you. All right, I want you to keep an eye on a headlight and also on the sky, on these clouds, you know, these cold forming clouds and the headlight. So keep an eye on both of these two, where my finger is, and I'm gonna count to 3 and I'm gonna turn off HDR, and you will see just how much ridiculous detail you're being sacrificed, almost stripped off naked. Here we go. Look at this in about 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. And look at that. Everything's stripped off. You don't see the detail on that headlight anymore. It looks like it's a, you know, the light has been overblown with white balance. Same thing with the cloud. You don't see those other clouds being outlined. They're being overblown. Everything's being overblown. The shadows are not being represented properly. And look what happens. Again, keep an eye right here. These two key points. Look what happens when I turn the HDR back on. 1, 2, 3. And look at that. Look at the HDR here. And you see where my finger was? You see, you didn't even see that dark cloud. Those brown dark clouds. I'm sorry, gray. Those gray clouds over here. You didn't even see them before, did you? You didn't see them. You lost them. Same thing with these other gray clouds. These are the forming gray clouds, you know, like cold gray clouds. You didn't see them. You didn't see them forming up. And you also didn't see this entire headlight being formed up properly. You didn't see that either, did you? So you see, this is what you're missing. And I know it's hard for you to see this with those traditional heavily edited tests. I call them heavily edited tests. You know, you don't see that, you know, with them. You know, they're not showing you exactly what you are missing. I want you to see exactly what you are missing. So once you see this video and you're going to say, oh my God, there's so much I'm losing. Yes. Now this is static metadata, mind me. Imagine how much you would lose if you were using dynamic metadata with Dolby Vision. I'm sorry guys, I'm catching some kind of a flu these days. Hopefully hopefully I don't get, you know, even if I get sick, I don't care. I'm still gonna do Xbox One X tests. I have to do them. I have no choice. I gotta do them. We gotta go through the Xbox One X. We gotta test everything. We have to go through everything on the Xbox One X in the next 3 months and try to do comparisons with a Pro and the PC and everything. So everything will be done. All the questions you have will be answered. So everything you want to know about the Xbox One X will be there in the next 3 months. But I'm catching some kind of flu. I don't know what's going on. It is the season. It's November. So anyway, I'm sorry about that. I apologize. But the reason I apologize is because I was, you know, blowing my nose, and it's how rude of me. You can dislike the video right now because I did that. It's not right. So let's go to another position here. Let's see where else we can find. Is there another good? Well, here's a great one right here. Look at these clouds. This is a perfect one right here. I mean, all right. Here's a very important part. Before I count to 3, and before I turn that off, high dynamic range, static metadata, before I turn that off, I want you guys to really pay a close look to these clouds. I'm not a meteorologist, but I do know a little bit about the weather. There's different types of clouds. What you're seeing here, it's the grayish clouds, bluish, grayish clouds. These are like a cold clouds, okay? They bring cold rain and whatnot. So I want you to keep an eye on this and look at all the detail you're seeing here. With the sunrise overshadowing these gray, darkish clouds and the blue sky that's reflecting as well. You guys know why it's blue, right? Because of the ocean, right? Reflecting the ocean. It's okay. All right, I'm just kidding, guys. I know you know, but I'm just, you know, whatever. So keep an eye on this. Keep it. I don't even have to point my fingers. This is self-explanatory. I'm gonna count to 3 seconds, and you will see just ridiculous amount of detail you're gonna be stripped off. The ridiculous amount of detail you're gonna lose once I turn this sucker off HDR. Look what happens. It's gonna be horrible. 1, 2, 3. Oh my God. Oh, this is horrible. Everything's brighter. Everything's oversaturated. Everything's bleak. Like I don't have that deep dark levels anymore. They're gone. They're like stripped off. They're nowhere to be found. There's some color here and there. Obviously, it's always going to be there. But even the white color gamut stripped off. It looks as if it's not even a sunrise. It looks as if it's like a sunny day out there or something. Like 120 degrees. It looks horrible. And this is what you're being robbed of. This is what you're being stripped off when you don't have that HDR. Okay? I cannot stress enough how important HDR is. Absolutely, the resolution it's important too. It works both ways. You know, when you have this in a native 4K with the HDR, this is why Xbox One X it's highly regarded because of that native 4K resolution with HDR, man. Do you understand what you're going to be getting when you're playing that Forza 7 with that native 4K, pixel by pixel, 3840 resolution, 3840 pixels with high dynamic range and higher textures? Come on. That's why it's regarded so highly, because of that detail that you're going to be getting. Okay, let's turn the HDR back on and just it'll be obvious how much of detail you're gonna get, man. It's like putting your clothes back on. It's pretty much what it is here. Let me show you in about 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. I mean, come on. It's obvious. You know, it's more than obvious. You see just how much you're losing here, and then how much you gained. Look how much you gained here. Now, are you trying to tell me that you would rather play a game without HDR? With everything over bleaked, overblown, oversaturated? No, you don't want that. You want to enjoy this game in its true detail. Now, if you have a really good TV, there's different types of HDR TVs. So there's something else we need to talk about. You know, you can't just buy any kind of HDR TV and I'm going to enjoy it. No, there's different types of HDR TVs. The more premium HDR TVs you buy, the better it's going to look. If you buy an OLED, and of course, your HDR is going to be glorious. Of course, if you buy an OLED, okay? And if you buy a QLED, of course, your HDR is going to be more glorious because you got that peak brightness, high peak brightness nits of luminous light with wide color gamut, okay? So, but still, regardless of what HDR TV you buy, even if it's not a full wide color gamut, still you're gonna be enjoying much better benefit than not having it. Okay. So even if it's not a premium HDR, you're still gonna have much better quality than not having it. So what I'm trying to say is better than nothing. But there are different types of HDRs, okay? There's different types of panels. There's different types of TVs, guys. And I know the guy at the Best Buy or the guy at the other store out there is going to try to sell you whatever. Remember, the whole purpose of a salesperson is to sell you as much as he can possibly can, so he can get his commission, so he can get promoted and get the cash, get the money, go screw his girlfriend, go on a yacht and enjoy himself, all right? That's in the basic terms, all right? And I don't blame them. That's their job. That's what they got to do. They have to sell shit. Okay, they're sales personnel. Okay, and they're not going to go into details explaining you all of this and telling you the difference between the different TVs and different panels. They're not going to do that. All right, they ain't going to do that for you. They will do it if you pay them. You know, if you pay them a good sum of money, they might do it pro bono, you know, or whatever, or pro quid pro, whatever the fuck. Anyway, I want to show you some more here about the HDR. I don't know, but here's another great one right here. This is another good one. Here we are. We're seeing the sunrise being displayed right here And we see these different types of clouds formed up. We see everything. We see all the detail here. We see that the sunrise reflecting the gray clouds. We see the gray clouds reflecting the other clouds there on a higher upper horizon here with a white bright light. So everything seems natural here. The best word to use is natural. Now look what happens when we turn this HDR off. Just look how pathetic it's going to be. And if you never experienced HDR, if you never had HDR, so you can't tell a difference because you never experienced it. You know, I mean, it's like if you never flown in an airplane, you don't know what it's like. Okay, so it's the same thing here. So look, the amount of detail we're gonna be stripped off, completely robbed, stripped off. Look, in about 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, look at this. Look, you don't even see the sun anymore. Everything's overblown. Everything's over saturated. Everything's over bleaked. Sure, there's still some color, but here's the thing. You know, if you never had HDR and you'd be okay with this, you would say, okay, this is fine. This is how it is, because you're thinking that's what sun is doing. No. You still are supposed to see a detailed outline of that sun, that circle shape, all right? You're not supposed to be not seeing anything, like it's a big explosion or something down there. That's what it looks like. It looks like an overblown white bright level explosions. That's because you're not getting that peak brightness detail. You're just getting the standard overblown white brights with a contrast, and you're getting the overblown dark levels, bright dark levels as well, and you're getting the standard color gamut. So you're losing that 10-bit color. You're losing everything here. So let's turn it back on. Let's count to 4. Let's turn it back on. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, come on. It's like night and day. Night and day. Because this is set during the sunset. It's not set during like midday where it's like 95 degrees or something. This is during the sunrise. Not sunrise, I'm sorry, sunset. Sunset. It's sun setting, so this is what you're going to be looking. A lot of orange. Plenty of orange.